Hello, Lunacy community. It's Jeff Ado here. This episode is a continuation from last week's episode with Brother Bearheart. So if you didn't hear that one, I'd go listen to it first. We ended the last part of the conversation talking about prayer and how when prayer is present, creativity abounds. This half of the conversation begins with me talking about my latest music release, Blame, and an interview that I did with a reporter for that release. By the way, you'll get to see and or listen to that song in this particular episode. Finally, I just want to say there's a lot of really beautiful morsels in this conversation, and I really hope that you enjoy it and find it as useful as I did. Enjoy. They were asking me, like, how did you get into music and what was that like for you? And I talked about, like, how, when I was 5 years old, my mom threw me in choir at church, and I had the very good fortune of going to a very relaxed Christian church that's not super fire and brimstone-y, weird kind of stuff, very inclusive and accepting, and hey, be compassionate and loving towards people and like that, and what I've found through music and singing is like such an incredibly powerful way to connect with Source, to connect with God. For me, my music, my songs really are prayers. And also, like, music is such a powerful way for me to express the beauty that I see in a way that's like really authentic. Mm-hmm. And there's also something literally that happens, like scientifically, actually, that happens when you're in song, because really we're in song all the time. Mm-hmm. You and I have been singing to each other this whole hour that we've been chatting. We're intoning different tones in our voice. We're going up and down, and we're lilting, and we're doing the things that are song-like. We're just not singing, per se, right? Not yet.
But we are.
And now it's a musical people. Hey! But really, like, there is something that happens when you invoke your voice in terms of singing that is like calling forth this deep prayer and really aligning all your system to create a point of focus of your voice that's in line with that source energy. Yeah, that's something that's really, powerful. And I also notice when people are more prayerful that they get more creative. And so many of the people that I know, even in this community, right? We live in Grass Valley, Nevada City. There's a lot of people that are doing different sorts of prayers and ceremonies and stuff like that, and people that are more invested in exploring the nature of life than escaping it, which I think is part of the thing to do. And all of them are incredibly creative. I saw Ayla Nerio's show the other night, and it was such a beautiful prayer. Really like brought me to a space in my heart that, was very unique. Mari Stark, same thing, I
was just with Ayla as well, and bless them and their family.
Yeah. Go Ayla.
Beautiful child.
Oh yeah. She's so pregnant. It's great. But that's, I point her as an example because she just did a show that I went to, but also there's so many people in this community that are like that and that have that proclivity to make song and prayer and art. The guy, Miles Toland, who did the incredible mural behind me, right? Like, his art is all over the place. 5-story buildings,
His prayer.
Yeah, his prayer. And it is. And it is. You can see in the mandala around the moon that it's very much of a thought-provoking thing. You sit here and sometimes I'll just come in here and just look at it, really, and just gaze and really like be inspired and be in love with it. And the coding or the coding that's in this is so much more positive than the coding that comes from the media. So yeah, I really appreciate that and what you're saying. And I think I was going to ask you like how it is that you stay in prayer, but I think like it's a more important question to just say to people like, hey, how do you get into prayer?
Yes.
Like what's your prayer look like?
Yes.
And you mentioned gratitude earlier, like no doubt about it. Gratitude is that's like the quickest way to God. You know what I mean?
One of the biggest prayers.
Be grateful, just start being grateful for shit when you're really upset, especially I'm really glad there's a roof over my head.
Yes.
Okay. I'm really glad that I have this desk,
What I've noticed, and I was just talking to a dear sister about this, is that when you've done a little bit of work, people have a tendency to be a little bit more grateful. And it's almost obvious to be grateful when the good things are happening, what we see as blessings immediately.
Yeah.
Much more difficult to be able to see the blessings and the lessons within some very sensational experiences that we have in this reality. But it's not in those two times where the gratitude is most necessary. It's all the in-between space. When you get into your car, immediately, where's the gratitude? Or is it, what's this? And where's this? And now, who's going to, and oh, they passed me too fast. And and that's where the mind starts to go into the negative self-talk in so many people. And it starts to drift into these things and those things instead of forcing ourselves to stay in the gratitude. Wow. Thank you so much, Spirit. Those flowers are so beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much for the families of the people, specifically the men who built these roads. Thank you so much for the buildings that are here where I'm able to go in at any time. Thank you so much for this person that's on the side of the street, whatever they're doing. Thank you so much for these lungs that I have in my body. Thank you, Spirit. Before you know it, you're at the next place. And you're doing the thing and you're present with somebody and you're in another prayer, whatever it is. And as soon as you get back onto the plane or back into the car or going to the bathroom, instead of, oh, it smells like shit and who the fuck was in here and whatever, it's like, man, thank you so much that you're able to keep this person's body healthy. Thank you so much that my body is healthy. It's the in-between times. If we cannot learn to be very grateful on the in-between times where most of our time is in that space, in our mental space, then our mind will consistently drift into all the confusion and all the distracting things that are continuously within this experience. It's that in between times that's most important, and that's also where the blessings are going to come in, because it's not just like, wow, this is amazing. It's, again, thank you. The deepest sense, just thank you. And as soon as I learned this from the dogs, if you're trying to be in prayer and the mind starts to come in again, if nope, this isn't what it is, or no, you got to be doing. We also get to be the dog trainer inside of ourselves, and a dog trainer is one that's supposed to motivate us to be better. And so, in that, if there is any kind of negative self-talk, immediately it's no, it's not acceptable anymore, and we have to give either 3 or 5 truthful, positive things about ourselves, and then allow that to play out just in a numbers game. Once you hit 100 repetitions of being able to stop yourself and give yourself truth, and then to motivate yourself and congratulate yourself and be in thanks and be in praise and be in gratitude in the in-between times, freedom is right there. It's right there.
That's beautiful.
So I agree with you. How I pray doesn't matter. Asking people, what's your way of prayer? How are you expressing love and God that's trying to flow through you? What have been the lessons that have helped you get to here? What have been the blessings that maybe were looked at as traumas and tragedies? And most of the time what I found is people say, you know what, I don't think about it like that. But thank you for asking, because now I can see it from a different lens.
Yeah.
You are the one who's going to help yourself. You are the one that's going to heal yourself. You are the one that's going to choose freedom. You are the one that gets to take responsibility. Having examples of somebody being in true, authentic prayer in their own way was great for me. Because at a very early age, I started to understand prayer in an authentic way for myself. But I've also been able to sit with many elders around the world, and I see everyone and everything as my teacher. But in seeing others, like there's something that comes over my whole system when I feel someone is genuinely in prayer and they're tapped in and they're completely aside and they're that hollow bone that's spoken about. Man, I'm right there with them, like it's coming out of my mouth too. Because you spoke of truth, my truth, your truth, universal truth. There's one fucking truth.
Yeah.
however we want to spin it all. It is what it is. And when somebody's in prayer, that's truth.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
The truest truth.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
And that, how can you help somebody pray?
Right.
You can't.
No.
You can pray authentically and allow that to potentially be a ripple.
Yeah.
But you actually cannot help somebody pray, just like you cannot help somebody meditate.
Right.
They have to go through all the different things and meditation can be looked at just like prayer in 1,000 different ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How can you help somebody with that? You can force them to sit next to you and observe them.
Right.
And dictate how they do it.
Right.
Which some will be looked at as like, well, thank you for giving me a framework.
Mm-hmm.
And others are like, well, I don't want to fucking do it like that.
Yeah.
I want to do it like this.
Right.
And I feel more comfortable like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that's why so many people have such a hard time with quote unquote meditation.
Yeah.
Because they're being told how to do it instead of more so of, look, how do you want to do it?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And what does that bring up for you when you attempt it?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're observing you, this is what we're feeling, right?
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in meditation in my life. I feel super fortunate. It's been the best thing for me. And I've had a lot of conversation with people about like, well, how do you meditate? What do you do? Like, there's no way I could sit for that long. That's crazy. And the reality for me has been, and I think for a lot of people, based on what they've shared with me, is like, the first 10 minutes is really hard the first time you sit. If you can get through that to a place of peace, it's super valuable. And there's nobody that can tell me how it goes, like don't have thoughts. That's not possible. You just have to let them flow and let them go. I just have to let them flow and let them go and see where it gets me until I get to a point where I'm just feeling like, okay, now I'm at peace, and then sit there for another 10 minutes or whatever, however long, so that I can really feel that. And when things come up for me in the meditation, okay, why is this coming up? What needs healing in this area? What communication do I need to have? Especially like in ceremony, in ayahuasca ceremonies or whatever, sweat lodges or any of that stuff. It's like things come up that you need to do, that you need to handle, that because you're connecting with your higher self. That are, you're being instructed to go do the things. So you got to do those things.
There is a point also, no matter what somebody suggests to you, when you are getting close to God, you need to learn specific lessons, and nobody can hold your hand in that.
Yeah, that's right. You have to go through the door yourself, and it's not going to be fun, by the way.
Yeah, potentially.
It's interesting. I feel like I went after enlightenment because I thought, that'd be really great. There's this ideal of this place where you're enlightened, where you're fully experiencing life, and like it's the onset naive idea is like, oh, well, that's going to be really, I'm going to be so happy there, and it's just going to be easy. And I would not claim that I am enlightened because I think that's ridiculous. I don't trust people that would say that, frankly. But I am on a path of enlightenment. I am intending to enlighten myself. I am enlightening my life as I go along. And the more that I enlighten my life, it's not comfortable. And so much of it is not fun. But I do it anyway because it's worth it, because I have a code. And the code is more important than the blue pill.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you for that choice. Thank
you for that choice also. Mm-hmm. Here we are.
My take on it is I'm not looking to enlighten or have any kind of enlightenment, period. I just want to be a good brother. Mm-hmm. And the way that I was raised, being a good brother means there's a few things that you do and how you abide by your family. Mm-hmm. So I just get to expand that to the entire world. That's all I'm concerned with in life. Yeah. Is making sure that I can leave that kind of a legacy to my children. Mm-hmm. And my daughters can, and their mothers can have somebody in a masculine support that is, it's coming real and raw and extremely present, doing the best that I can 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of time when some people don't even understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. So for me, enlightenment and ascension, I hear people talking about ascension all the time. I really feel this is the last life that I'm supposed to live, and I'm supposed to ascend because it's so hard and it's so difficult, and this one's really been a doozy for me. And I appreciate it. And when they ask me, like, well, what's your ascension plan? If I have any kind of an influence whatsoever, again, because I'm a brother and I'm a daddy, and I know that the seed that's been able to be passed, my lineages, they're going to move on in life and multiculturally at that. I'm going to come back as fast as I possibly can. If I have any kind of a say in it, it's like, press the button, send me back. I trust spirit that I'll learn just a little faster the next time. But I got to get back to my kids and my grandkids. I got to make sure that this is too visceral for me. This life experience and what the mission is, it's too strong.
Yeah.
Not to want to come back again and be able to have a better influence a little bit faster, gather the folks and the fam, and just be more. So that's what I'm doing now, and it seems to be working. So if I have any kind of a choice, it's not going to be to ascend.
Right.
I have a family here. Papa's coming back.
Yeah.
That's what I feel most true in my heart. If there is any kind of an opportunity to do that whatsoever, which I'm not.
Who knows?
I'm not. I don't really care. What I care is the effect that I can have with my family in this life.
Yeah, that's great.
It's easy.
I'm gonna keep laughing about what's your ascension plan.
I mean, seriously, you could.
Well, I was thinking I'd get on a cross.
Yeah, you could
hang
imagine
out there
what my
for
face
a few
was.
days.
You can imagine what my face was when that was the question that was asked.
What's your ascension plan? Wow, that's great. That's really.
And you want to know what I told him?
Yeah.
I just looked straight at him. I said, "I don't do small talk, bro." You ain't gonna get small talk out of me.
Wow. So I wanted to ask you, there's a guy that I've been trying to get to come actually on this program who's a soldier. He was like special forces type guy, has gone and fought in many different conflicts all over the world. Maybe went to Ukraine, to do some work over there during this crisis. Really interesting guy. Knows a lot of like self-defense as a warrior. And I like him, and I want to talk to him because I feel like he has a perspective that he could bring that would be unique to the program. Somebody who's been in like a lot of battles and that kind of thing. And the other day I said to him, I said, well, very much a lot of what I'm trying to do with my program is to help build peace and talk about how do we create peace in the world. And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, I don't think that's really possible. I think for thousands of years we've been killing each other and murdering each other in various and different ways and inventive ways, and I don't think that's built into who we are as people." And I was like, okay. I didn't really say much at that point because that's obviously not my perspective. I like you agree. I think that we are actually built to, the way that we've been most effective in life has been to collaborate and cooperate. And that if we can get past some of these some of this sort of basic Maya delusion stuff, if we can really, frankly, if we can become radically responsible as individuals, then there's a whole other world that is possible that is beyond our wildest dreams. And the reason that I bring it up to you is because you've had some experience as a warrior in this life and done things that are in line with that, and yet here we are having this conversation about peace and love. And so I'm wondering, what would you say to somebody like that? Somebody who's a warrior that says, well, I don't think that's possible. I don't think we could do that.
I feel you, brother. I feel you. Neither did I. It's a just feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That there's life experience. There's life experience and a lot of data that shows that that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also healing that gets to happen there. And what we have been designed for is to be able to integrate large amounts of energy within our systems, and to do so in many different ways. That life force energy that is to kill people, it's the same exact energy to love people.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we deploy it. What kind of a warrior and a soldier do we want to be moving forward?
Mm-hmm.
And who are we going to take our orders from?
Yeah.
That's what I ask my brothers. Because the reason why they say that is they feel like the mission has been failed.
Mm-hmm.
The mission's just begun. Everything else has been training and collection of data. It's where we come together and say, what do we choose now?
Mm-hmm.
And again, what did I start with? I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
It's totally valid.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned women and children, and it's something I'm very passionate about myself. I don't have children, but I love children. I dedicated my life to teaching children for a long time, large part of my life. I'm into them. You know what I mean? I was one. All right. I still am one in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And treatment of women, we were talking about, the different groups of people that are fucking things up. One of them is the agribusiness cartel. All these agricultural companies. So much of hunger is as a result of these agricultural companies coming together and forcing impoverished countries to give up their import tariffs so they can dump waste and stuff there.
Because people won't stand together.
Right. Because people won't stay together.
So if it works, it'll keep happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, so that's one of the causes of worldwide hunger. But the other one is suppression of women. Mm-hmm. Women are not allowed in so many places. We went to visit Malawi for this documentary project that will be released sometime within the next year. If you're a woman, you couldn't open your own bank account for a long time. You had to have a man there to open the bank account. And then the woman works her ass off and the guy goes and takes the money and spends it on booze and hookers. I mean, literally, that's what happens so often. Not based on, based on what people told me when I was there. I'm not, statistics here. You also mentioned like in certain countries, there is a suppression of women that is part of the culture. And like I was talking to somebody recently who was mentioning that, you can go, there are certain places in Afghanistan that you can go to the market, to the bazaar, and you can buy an iron mask that you can put on your wife and unlock when it is that you want her to eat at the fucking market place, like next to the bread.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things for me. It's like, well, I really want to be cool with all other cultures and I respect other religions and ways of life, but that's just fuck you on the biggest fuck you scale for me. Like, I don't even know what to say about that. It's so unacceptable and it's so undermines honoring the creative force that brought us into being, that is women. No man ever gave birth to anybody. It's so offensive to me, and yet it doesn't work for me to go over to those folks and say, your way is wrong. You need to do better. Like, that's not a way. It has to be a conversation. And I don't know how to broach that conversation because it's so indoctrinated, and, it falls into the whole victim thing. Like, we'll just blame it all on the women and suppress them, however that goes, like more men behaving badly. I just wonder, like, for you, what's there? Like, how do we move through that? How do we move past through those paradigms that are so large, it's countrywide, to get folks to like honor women in an appropriate way. And what's your ascension plan?
Okay. All right. So there's a lot of charged around all of it. Yeah.
There is, yeah.
The code that I've lived by since I was a very, very, very small child was the protection of women, children, and innocence. So I feel you. Mm-hmm. I feel what that stirs up in you.
Yeah.
And if I see this as my family, then I would see that as one of my potential aunties or something happening like that, which also means that that would be one of my potential uncles. Mm-hmm. That would be trying to enforce some type of unjust, inhumane action.
Yeah.
My philosophy in all of it is to get closer. Again, when there is one party that thinks this is something is normal, there's another party that says this is diabolical. That's very interesting. Mm-hmm. What has happened in the world is, I'm right, you're wrong, you're the enemy, F you, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, and there's more separation, more separation, more mm-hmm. separation, more separation
Here, buy some guns.
Until it's just an old conversation. Mm-hmm. And then nobody wants to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And that will span in so many different ways because we're not seeing each other as family.
Right.
You may be the concerned neighbor by feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah,
which is justified. Uh-huh. Right? But in order to be able to actually mend the gap and get to understand it more, we get to actually connect deeper.
Yeah.
And be there more. And blend to feel why that could potentially be happening. Mm-hmm. How this can be allowed. Mm-hmm. And just so blatantly open.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when we're talking about freedom, that looks in many different ways. And different countries can say some things are right and wrong and so on and so forth. We will and we should understand this is a big world. And there's a lot of people who think completely and were raised and programmed for thousands of years in their own specific way to see some things as okay where others see it as absolutely horrible. We're seeing this just within the current times when it comes to just what people eat. People are willing to kill others because of eating something. Mm-hmm. Completely rip them apart energetically, physically, just because somebody says, you know what, my body says I should be eating this mm-hmm. instead of this. Mm-hmm. So if we can't get used to those conversations and being able to be good with each other, how are we going to breach the conversation in a different language with a different culture that sees things from a completely different angle? That if they don't see that being done to their own as something that's out of alignment.
Out of alignment. Good job.
How can anyone else force them? You won't. It'll turn into a war.
Yeah.
It'll turn into more killing. And it'll turn into more generational trauma.
Yeah.
So we get closer, bro. That's what. And for me, then this is the thing, right? I've been incarcerated because I took the law into my own hands because of something that happened to a woman. I've given up my freedom, imprisoned myself because I chose to help a woman. Mm-hmm. So I feel that inside of you that wants to be the protector, wants to make sure that women are being treated fairly and equally. And there's also a part within the world where, and some are not going to like this, but there is a part of this where women get to stand collectively in a completely different way as well. Mm-hmm. And again, as long as something is accepted, it will continue to happen.
Yeah.
We're animals. That's what's going to happen. As long as it does not work anymore, and there's another influence that's an even stronger influence, and another way that can be seen as a middle road for acceptance and co-communing in society, whatever that is. As long as we can come together and see each other as the confused family member instead of the enemy, those bridges will come together and will mend the gaps. Again, if we can't keep the kids safe, there's no way that there's going to be extra respect for the women. The children are the most innocent, and if with anything that we can be around and be present to is the innocence of a child. If that is still being tampered with due to being confused as children, that's the first step. Again, there is no other conversation until that one's taken care of.
Right.
And there's a part where some people will say, well, there's really important issues and so on, and we need to save the dolphins, and we need to save this, and we need to save this species of larvae, and we need to do this, and we need to do that. Great. There's many ways that we get to assist Mama Gaia. There's many ways that we get to come back into right relation. However, we're trying to spray water on the leaves, hoping the tree is going to grow better instead of taking care of the old decaying roots and allowing it to heal from the inside out. And for me, that's what comes up, to answer your question. What comes up when I think about a metal mask where you would put on somebody to try to have dominion over them in many different ways. I see that as a lot of confusion, a lot of sadness, and also a lot of actions that have allowed that to be there in itself. And so in that, there's a lot of things that are unfortunate. And I come from a life of when I think something's unfortunate, then I also think that I get to assume my position as the judge, jury, and executioner. That doesn't work.
Right.
And I speak of it as a warrior and as a veterano in that way. I don't just speak of love to say love. It's the hardest damn thing to actually be in devotion to. Because it's so easy for us to disconnect instead of keep the connection tight and go even closer and closer.
Yeah.
Because there's something there. So if we can do this in our own homes, right? In ourselves first. And if we can do it in our own homes, and if we can do it in our towns, we can get off the damn screens and we can come together again and figure all this out, because it's going to happen. There's going to be something that brings us together. It has to.
Yeah.
My hope for others, because I know what I've already created and set up, but my hope for others is that they will take their freedom and love a little bit more serious. And spirituality shouldn't be some game of trying to get somewhere or trying to look a specific way. Your deepest, most intimate prayer will come from an authentic space. Everything will be trying to express itself through. And in that, as that beautiful wake continues, then we'll get to see the fruit from it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that always we touched on this a little bit earlier, but it always calls to mind, the Buddhist vision, which is, if you really want to stop war in the world, stop the war in yourself. I'm paraphrasing the Buddha, but basically that's what he said. All right. So you want to stop the war in yourself. And I believe that. And also,
why is it so hard for people?
I don't know. That I don't know. And I feel like I'm incredibly privileged. So privileged, like so lucky. I'm a white man, first of all, which I don't have any of the beliefs of I'm better than other people. That's all bullshit. I know it, but it doesn't matter. I haven't had to deal with racism and suppression because of my gender or my skin tone. Really, there's been like one. I had one dream actually right before I came to Primal Presence. I had a dream that I was black, and I woke up and looked in the mirror and I was like, oh man. And I wasn't like, oh man, because I was black. I was like, oh man, because I was like, now I have to deal with all this bullshit from people, like people looking at me because I'm black and saying things to me because I'm black. Like now I have to actually deal with what it means to be somebody who you know is oppressed in some way based on the color of their skin or their gender.
Cool. Brother, I hate to break reality to you. You are the new black.
Okay, well that's probably true. Yeah,
that's why you started off.
Maybe
with
that's
you being a white man.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe
if it actually matters and if it's actually in your mind.
Yeah,
be rest assured, you are the new black, bro.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah, just feel it all.
All right.
And just like somebody of a darker skin shouldn't think of themselves of any other way because of what some of their ancestors have done or whatever else. I hope you'll be able to be there as well and say what my skin is, but I'm much more than just my skin. And if there are others that are going to see me in a specific way and judge me in a specific way because of my skin without getting to know me, then that's just blatant ignorance.
Yeah.
On any which way, shape, or form. And that should get met with, okay, my little confused little nephew. I feel you.
Yeah. Right.
But we're grown folk now.
Yeah. No, 100%. I guess, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. Mm-hmm. And also to my point, which is that I feel very fortunate. Like I feel incredibly lucky to have gone down the path that I've been led with the parents that I had, with the, being born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, just everything. Like if I look at my life, I'm like, wow, I've been so fortunate, and part of me is like, well, I chose this path, somehow I deserve this path or whatever. And now it's important for me to capitalize on how much I can give back because I've been given so much. Mm-hmm. That's why Lunacy. Mm-hmm. That's why, in hopes that this conversation will shed some light for somebody else and move something else in them where they start praying more deeply or being more in tune, mm-hmm. or like taking on the in-between, mm-hmm. praying in the in-between, which I'm going to take on. Thanks for bringing it up. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I moved from LA was to get out of traffic. Now I don't have to deal with that anymore, but I still go back there from time to time. Mm-hmm. And, so I'm going to take on praying in the in-between. But like, I look at myself and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I've had for sure challenges, and I could list them and you'd be like, oh yeah, those are legit, Jeff. I see what you've gone through. But, I never had a fucking shackle mask on my face. Like, it's pretty minor compared to so many people in the world. And I feel so fortunate to be able to have the privilege of having this conversation and also looking at myself and looking at like, where is it that I can be more responsible? Even though I know that that's just a way of being that gives me power and that's available to everyone. Mm. My prayer is that people will, no matter what circumstances they're in, will really come to that question, come to that inquiry for themselves in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I find it interesting that what's helped bring, like where you talk about privilege, mm-hmm. and being like having privilege of not having like extreme amount of judgment or super heavy traumas and things like that, has helped you want to give back because of that. Whereas in my life, I have been judged. I have been the blunt end of many, many forms of racism on all different color spectrums. I have been the one that's been physically assaulted just for simply being white. I have been the one that has been tried to be manipulated and so on. And I come from a multicultural family. And I feel privileged because of that. I feel privileged because I've been able to see the spectrums.
Yeah.
I feel privileged because I've been able to connect to those in my family that look nothing like me.
Yeah.
I feel privileged that I get to understand both sides. I feel privileged that I get to be able to be on the ground speaking different languages with my family, whereas other people are judging me horrifically. Mm-hmm. I feel privileged in all of that, which is the reason why I also want to give back. Mm-hmm. So privilege can be looked at in many different ways.
Yeah.
It just depends on how we see it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I've been the product of somebody hating me just because I'm white. Mm-hmm. I love it because I wouldn't have been able, that wouldn't have been able to happen if I looked more like them. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have brought up something.
Right.
I love the fact that I've been able to quite literally be on the complete opposite sides of the spectrum, to be able to connect to different culture and different religion, and then be able to crisscross back and forth and to see and hear all the division. They, them, this, that. And the funny thing is, it's the same everywhere. The same conversations are happening everywhere. When you're a victim, you are a victim. No matter what color your skin you're in, you're still in victimhood. And that just is what it is. And it does not matter one bit that my skin is what it is with all of the different culture that's inside of me. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Can we see the privilege in simply having breath? And if we could see that, not what our skin color is or where our family comes from, which is important, where our family comes from in culture and color and flavor and music and all this, it's what makes this world so beautiful, is the differences. But if we could see ourselves to all truly be privileged to have an opportunity to do something different because of the skin color you have, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, well, you're privileged because you're white, damn straight. And you're not at a point right now where you can hear that you're privileged because you're black. Because God is using you and that black ass skin and my white skin and the brown skin and all the skins. He's using it for a reason. I'm at a point where I can say, hell yeah, I'm privileged. And it doesn't have to do with other people that look similar to me with the same color skin that's been able to win the majority of the wars for the past few hundred years.
Right.
It's beyond it.
Yeah.
I feel privileged for many reasons. And one of the biggest ones is because I have been able to feel many sides. Mm-hmm. And it didn't always feel good being singled out and judged. And I'm really thankful for it.
That's awesome.
Hey. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's great. All right. Do you mind if we watch my video?
Sure.
I want to show it to you because it's about radical responsibility. Post-production interlude here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're about to see my music video for the song Blame. And if you're listening to the podcast, you'll just hear the song. Either way, enjoy.
They told you anger and grief replacing the need for authentic connection. Having the heart turned black as a star.
There it is.
That was really cool.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, it looks absolutely professional. Sounds great. Also, the visuals gave a nice story arc in line. There's a lot of emotion in it. It was real. Yeah, I can see how people will be able to connect to it.
The reason that I wanted to show it to you is that what I was really trying to encapsulate with this song is the idea of radical responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know that when all you do is blame becomes your name,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's who you are, is blame.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that force takes over your life.
Yes.
And then that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that it was a really hard song for me to write and communicate because like, you know, you take the red pill of radical responsibility and then first of all, you don't get to let yourself off the hook anymore and blame everybody else. But then also when you see everybody else blaming everybody for their problems, it's really challenging. It becomes harder because you know what a waste of time it is for yourself. And you know that there's so much greater freedom and power in not having that, you know, that way. And so I wanted to write the song to convey that emotion, but in a way that people could get behind. And also the reason the video is me, in part, is like, here's a situation that I could be in, that I have been, I haven't been in a lot of fights, but whatever, that I have been in certain aspects of that, certainly fighting with, in relationship, like that, to showcase that like, you know, everybody goes through this and we have choice in whether or not we're going to be that person, whether or not we're just going to blame everybody else.
Yes. Good message to put out to the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah. And good message to put into our inner world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. That's great. And then I don't know, I guess, is there anything else that you want to say either about radical responsibility or that notion or anything else that you want to convey to people that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, it's just ownership. Own your shit. Simple. Act like an adult.
Yeah.
Instead of like, well, the 3 best ways that you can, like, I'm not that kind of a person.
No, that's why I like you.
Keep it real. Own your shit. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Keep it real. Own your shit. Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Ask others for healthy reflection. Trust the healthy reflection from the comrades that you have. And let's mission forward. Let's move.
Yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. So I ask this question of all my guests.
Okay.
Bearheart.
Yes.
For you.
Yes.
What is sacred and what is insane?
Everything. Everything's sacred. Everything's insane. That's a very simple question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to elaborate?
Please.
Everything is sacred. If God put it here, it's sacred. Whether or not I see that or not. What people consider insane, what I've seen that some people would say is insane, is the most beautiful thing I could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that it's also sacred. It just depends on when we're able to see it. That's it.
That's great. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I just want to finish by acknowledging you. I want to acknowledge you for going through all of the things that you've had to go through to get to who you are. I want to acknowledge you for all the battles that you fought, the way that you were raised, how you allowed that to help you become who you are today. I want to acknowledge you for being somebody who's like trustworthy, somebody that I can totally count on, somebody that stands for love, freedom, safety, and truth in a way like no other I've seen. And I want to acknowledge you for spreading your dharma, your wisdom, your brotherhood to people everywhere. I really want to thank you for being a force for good, for being a force for La Forza.
Forza.
And I really want to just let you know how privileged I feel to have you as my brother.
Hey. Thank you. Reciprocated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel very privileged in many ways. One of which is because you're my bro.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Hug.
Thank you, bro.
Much love.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. If you want to support this podcast, and I would love it if you did, please go to patreon.com/lunacy podcast. All right, see you next week.